Have you ever wondered why the prices of your groceries, your car, and even your phone have gone up even though politicians promised inflation would cool down? What if I told you that one invisible policy called a tariff is quietly shaping your paycheck, your shopping cart, and even the global power balance between America, China, and the rest of the world? In 2025, tariffs aren't just about protecting jobs, they're about controlling the future of global trade. Behind every Made in America label is a political strategy, a price war, and a silent economic weapon that's reshaping who wins and who loses in the next decade. This is the untold story of how tariffs, once a dusty economic turn, became the battlefield for inflation, geopolitics, and national pride. From the Trump-era trade wars to Biden's recalibrations, and now, global retaliation, the world stands at an economic crossroads. So buckle up as we uncover the real reason behind rising prices, broken supply chains, and trade tensions that could change your financial future. The hidden power of tariffs. Tariffs may sound like a technical government term, but they're one of the most powerful economic tools in existence. A tariff is simply a tax on imported goods, but this simple tool can reshape entire industries. When a country imposes tariffs, it makes imported goods more expensive, encouraging people to buy local products. That means domestic companies sell more, jobs are protected, and the nation appears to grow stronger. But there's a dark side. Most products today depend on global supply chains. American factories rely on Chinese steel, Taiwanese chips, and Mexican auto parts. When tariffs raise those costs, production becomes more expensive. That cost doesn't stay with the factory, it passes on to consumers through higher prices. So, while tariffs can protect industries, they also quietly feed inflation. In 2025, every nation from the US to India is experimenting with tariffs to balance politics and economics. But the real question is who truly benefits. The US-China trade war reignited the US-China trade conflict, didn't disappear, transformed. In 2018, tariffs were imposed on billions worth of goods, sparking the first modern trade war. Today in 2025, both nations are more economically intertwined, yet politically divided, than ever before. The US has shifted from simply punishing Chinese exports to strategically targeting industries of the future: semiconductors, renewable energy, and AI hardware. Washington's strategy is clear: weaken China's dominance in tech manufacturing and safeguard America's innovation ecosystem. China responded forcefully with tariffs on American agriculture, luxury goods, and raw materials. This back and forth has shaken markets, driven up costs, and forced multinational companies to relocate production to Vietnam, Mexico, and India. Behind the headlines lies a quiet power struggle. The US wants to protect its technological supremacy, while China aims to secure its supply chain independence. This is no longer just a trade dispute, it's an economic Cold War defining global power in the 21st century. Tariffs and the inflation connection. One of the least understood effects of tariffs is their role in fueling inflation. When a government imposes tariffs, it immediately raises the cost of imported goods. Businesses that rely on those imports face higher expenses and inevitably pass those costs to consumers. In 2025, economists estimate that tariffs contribute roughly 1 to 2% of total US inflation. That might sound small, but in a $25 trillion economy, it's enormous. From electronics to food packaging, tariff costs are embedded in nearly every product you buy. However, there's a paradox. Tariffs also protect jobs and local industries. By shielding domestic manufacturers, they help keep employment stable and wages flowing. Yet those higher wages, combined with increased prices, create a loop: more money chasing fewer goods. The end result? Persistent inflation. In a fragile post-pandemic economy, tariffs may sound patriotic, but they quietly inflate the cost of living for millions. The question remains: can economic protection coexist with price stability? Winners and losers of the tariff game. Every tariff creates both winners and losers, and the lines aren't where you expect. Domestic manufacturers, especially those producing steel, aluminum, or solar panels, may benefit from reduced competition. They can raise prices, expand production, and even hire more workers. On paper, it looks like a success story. But look closer. Farmers often face devastating retaliation. When the US taxes Chinese goods, Beijing retaliates by targeting American soybeans, corn, or pork. Suddenly, US farmers lose billions in export revenue. Meanwhile, import-dependent companies from car makers to tech giants see their costs surge. Consumers bear the brunt. Studies show the average American household pays $800, $1,000 more per year due to tariffs and counter-tariffs. The irony is striking. The policy meant to protect workers often erodes their purchasing power. In this global chess match, big corporations adapt by shifting factories abroad, but small businesses and families can't move. They're the silent casualties in a game designed by politicians and economists. The global ripple effect. Tariffs are like throwing a rock into a pond. The ripples spread worldwide. When the US raises tariffs on Chinese goods, other countries must choose sides. The European Union, Japan, and India have all implemented their own protectionist measures to defend key industries. This has led to a new global trend: regional trade blocs. Nations are forming smaller alliances like the US-Mexico-Canada Agreement, USMCA, or the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, RCEP, in Asia. Instead of a single global market, the world is splitting into mini-economies, trading mostly within their regions. For businesses, this means opportunity in some areas and disaster in others. Companies must rethink supply chains, shifting from China to Vietnam or from Europe to Africa. For consumers, it means higher prices, longer delivery times, and fewer product choices. The globalization era that once promised cheap goods and open trade is fading. Tariffs have redrawn the global map, and no country is immune. Tariffs, politics, and populism. Tariffs are no longer just economic tools, they're political weapons. In election campaigns, politicians often present tariffs as a way to protect national pride, bring jobs back home. It's a powerful message that resonates deeply with working-class voters. Yet few voters realize how complex the long-term impact really is. Tariffs can make local industries temporarily competitive, but they also raise costs and strain alliances. Politicians, however, prioritize short-term popularity over long-term efficiency. In 2025, both American parties use tariffs to project economic strength. Around the world, populist leaders do the same, from Europe to Latin America. Economic sovereignty has become the new slogan, but behind the emotional rhetoric lies a deeper reality. Tariffs are often less about economics and more about winning hearts and votes. When leaders promise protection, they're often protecting their political future, not necessarily the people's wallets. The result? A cycle where policies driven by emotion reshape global trade for decades to come. The future of global trade, the future of tariffs, isn't about taxes, it's about technology and control. As industries evolve, nations are redefining what trade even means. Semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy are the new oil of the digital age. Instead of fighting over physical goods, countries now battle for access to data, chips, and rare minerals. The US is investing billions to produce chips domestically. China is racing to secure raw materials in Africa and Latin America. The goal is simple: control the entire supply chain from start to finish. In this future, tariffs may expand beyond goods to include digital services and intellectual property. Who owns the algorithms? Who controls the cloud? These will become the trade wars of tomorrow. The 2025 tariff battles are just the beginning of a new global order, one where economic security replaces free trade, and power belongs to those who can produce, protect, and innovate within their own borders. Tariffs once seemed like dusty economic policies, but in 2025, they're shaping inflation, politics, and the very structure of global power. What began as a tool to protect local industries has turned into a global weapon, influencing everything from grocery bills to geopolitics. For everyday people, understanding tariffs isn't just about economics, it's about survival in a changing world. Every product you buy carries the hidden cost of political decisions made continents away. If you've learned something new today, don't stop here. Subscribe, hit the like button, and share this video with someone who wants to understand the real forces behind the headlines. Because in this new world economy, knowledge is power, and awareness is the first step toward financial freedom.